Hello and welcome to my live this morning. Do you see my drinks that I have there? I don't always drink the healthiest drinks. Good old this Diet Mountain Dew and then nice Celsius Arctic Cool. Okay. Anyways, um I'm going to be doing a live today on essentially what people are afraid of because I've gotten so many requests, questions, fear issues, on the mass deportations that I thought I would address a lot of realities of the situation. And through my discussion of the realities and the procedures, hopefully at some degree, it will put some people's minds at ease and at least, let them know procedurally what can and can't be done. Okay. Now you can ask your questions as you want here on immigration, of course, and I will get to that after I go through my discussion of, the fear and what the procedures and, everything that I believe is going to happen in regards to what Trump is referring to as a mass deportation. Okay. And I'll scroll back, answer all the questions, and then go from there. Okay. Also, if you can't hear me, let me know. Sometimes I go on this and for whatever reason, the mic's not working. And 20 minutes later, after all the people have joined, somebody says, "Hey, we can't hear you." And that's like 20 minutes after the fact. So if you can't hear me, let me know. Okay. So this is let's get into it. Okay. Let's get into it. So the situation here is that there's a whole lot of fear in the US. That's a fact. Okay, there's a whole lot of fear, a whole lot of anxiety, and so forth, because Trump has made his number one agenda, where he said thousands of times, mass deportation. Okay. And so people are calling and they're texting me and they're wondering, can that happen? Okay, what can go on in order to do this? Okay, am I safe? Well, neither I nor anybody can guarantee you exactly what's going to happen. Okay, that's a fact. So the idea is to inform and let you know what the law is and what we can do as immigration attorneys in order to try to prevent this and to go on from there. Okay, that's the reality. So I'm going to present to you some facts, some procedures, and so forth, at least to try to get, you know, for you to have some peace of mind, and not let the fear ruminate in your head and go crazy for the next few months. Okay, that's just it. So keep in mind, Trump says that he's going to have the biggest mass deportation in history. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, and he got a lot of people to vote for him because of that. And that was why he said it. So then the question becomes, can he go into office, issue an executive order which essentially says mass deport everybody who's not here illegally, sit down, watch TV, and have it all happen? Okay, that's the bottom line. That's what people fear. Whether they entered illegally, whether they are here illegally after entering legally, or whether they don't even have their green cards but are here on a non-immigrant visa, whether they've applied for asylum and have no actual status other than applying, whether they're in immigration court and are fighting, Okay, there are tons of different scenarios of status that people have. And I'm getting questions from all corners of this earth, being the United States, which come from anyone who essentially is not a U.S. citizen. Even people who are U.S. citizens but were naturalized. They're afraid. Okay, I have people who have been here since they were 2 years old, brought as a baby, became a U.S. citizen, and now, all these years later, are fearful that they will have their citizenship revoked and removed to the country that they were born in. Okay, that's how bad it is. Okay. And I felt I have to put out the video explaining from a legal standpoint, really, what can and can't be done. So understand you have the political standpoint, okay, which is Trump saying, I will do mass deportations. Okay, that's the political standpoint. I will do mass deportations. And, whether it's just a racist thing or whether it's just to get votes or whatever it is, that's the political statement. Now comes the legal analysis of that so you understand more what's to be done. So let me just give a small background, just 2 minutes of my background, so I'm not just blowing hot air here. Okay? So, of course, I'm an attorney. Okay, and you know how many years that takes. I'm an immigration attorney. I've been doing it for over 30 years, and I'm a certified specialist in immigration and nationality law. Now, that takes years and years to become, and I've been renewed as a certified specialist. It's either 5 times now or 4 times. I can't remember. Every 5 years I have to get renewed. So I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 times, but whatever. So I've fought the fight for a long time. Okay, I know immigration law backwards and forwards. Okay, I've worked in deportation courts, in appeals, the BIAs, petitions for review. I've done writs of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court. I've done it all. And I know what needs to be done. Now, given I said that, nobody knows what's going to happen. Trump will come into office, and the first day he's going to say mass deportations, executive order, and, he's going to parade around with that and, be all happy. But then comes the execution of it. What can be done? Okay, and that's what I'm going to talk about here today. What can't be done? Okay. So first, we start off with the blanket statement that you just can't have a mass deportation. You just can't. Okay? Let's talk about not even the legal aspect of it. Let's talk about the reality, the execution of it first, before we get into the legal aspects of being able to do it or not do it. You have only so many agents on the ground. That's a fact. You only have so many people in ICE that can go and get people and do what's necessary to get them in removal proceedings. Okay? And this problem has existed forever, which is why we need immigration reform. But the fact remains that you can't just snap your fingers, say snap deportation, all of a sudden magically, 100,000 ICE agents appear at, 11 million households that happen to not have people who are here legally and say, whoop, time to go back to your home country, and then put them on a plane and send them. That is the impression that the mass deportation statement gives, that the moment that order is given, that an ICE agent will appear at your door, have handcuffs, stick you on a plane, and send you back to your home country. That can't happen. First of all, that can't happen, okay? Because, again, people-wise, agent-wise, there are thousands of immigration agents, not millions. Okay? And just think about it. Even if they could magically do that, let's just say all the laws go out the door and they disappear and we're no longer a democracy. They can't just magically appear at 11 million households and deport people automatically. Okay, that can't happen. Now, and you know why. I mean, just the reality of it. Okay? I mean, we can even bring it down. Let's say you have 10,000 people, but 2 people to enforce something. I mean, that's sort of the percentage. How long will it take 2 people to enforce, 10,000 people they want to do it against? Okay, that's just numerically the percentages. Okay. So now comes legally the law on how do you deport someone. Okay, that's the law. Okay, and I'm talking the law. I'm not talking about a political statement that says mass deportations, we're going to make it the biggest in history. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the law of how do you deport someone. Let's talk about one person, one deportation, just so you get an idea. Okay, so if someone is here inside the U.S., and let's just say, for example, they're here not legally, okay? And again, there's all kinds of stories and things that we can talk about. Again, people who are U.S. citizens but who are naturalized who have fear. People who are green card holders who think that they're going to have their green cards revoked. People who are here on non-immigrant visas who don't have green cards or citizenship who think that they aren't here. People who came here legally but have overstayed and are not here legally. But let's just talk about for a minute the people who came in illegally, had no visas, and have been here, and now the government is going to try to deport them. What happens? Okay, procedurally, what happens? So first and foremost, the government, and we're talking about one person here, just so you get an idea. The government cannot walk into that person's house, stick that person in handcuffs, put them on a plane, and send them back without due process. So unless you want to take the Constitution and throw it in the garbage, which, some people might try to do, but it's not there yet, okay? We're still a democracy. So unless you want to throw that Constitution in the garbage, the law says that there are due process rights for people who are here. Even if they are here illegally, there's due process rights. And what does that mean? That means that, yes, an ICE agent can come. An ICE agent can put you in handcuffs. An ICE agent can put you in detention. But they have to serve you with what's called a notice to appear. Just like if you were a criminal defendant. Okay? Just like that. If you're a criminal defendant, they can't just stick you in jail and say you're in there for 20 years because we think you're guilty. Okay, no, they have due process. They have to go through a trial. They have to have the evidence. It has to go through all the procedures. They have to be found guilty, and then they're sentenced. Okay, so same with removal proceedings against someone who is here illegally. So they have the right to fight their case in front of an immigration judge. So what is the way that they can speed that immigration can speed this up? Well, they can tell and lie to someone, and they can say, look, all you need to do is sign here and everything will be hunky-dory. And you have to sign here because I'm an immigration agent and you're not. Okay, the law is you don't have to sign anything. You don't have to be forced to sign anything, and they can't force you. Okay, all you have to do is say, sorry, my immigration attorney said I'm not supposed to sign anything. Yes, they can put you in detention. Okay, they can do that. But, you can ask for a redetermination of a bond hearing in front of the judge. And the judge can order the release of you to fight your case while you're on the outside. And that's another issue. There's only so many facilities and only so many beds that they can have someone in detention. So you think they're going to put 11 million people, the vast, vast majority that don't have criminal history, and stick them in detention for years while they're fighting their case? Let's just say there's 100,000 beds. that means there's 100,000, not 11 million, which means that they absolutely, positively cannot hold in detention the vast majority of people who are going to fight their cases. That's the fact. Okay? Yes, they can hold in detention people who have crimes, people who are aggravated felons, people who don't qualify for bond. But if they're here illegally and they have no criminal history and they have no and the judge doesn't believe they're going to run away from an immigration court hearing, they're going to be bonded out. Pure and simple, they'll be bonded out. So then what happens? They come to the door. Again, we're talking about one person comes to the door, puts them in, their handcuffs, puts them in detention, and they try to get you to sign the please deport me paper, don't fight my case type thing, which you say, no, sorry, I'm not going to sign it. So what they do, they issue the notice to appear, and then from the notice to appear, you'll eventually get a date where you have to appear in front of the judge. Okay? So normally if you're in detention, that's a couple weeks away. And again, we keep having issues, but let's say they put 11 million people in deportation at the same time. You think that they're going to be able to, the immigration courts are going to be able to handle that? Heck no. Which is another reason there's no way they can do that. But that's another issue. So then we're talking about the one person gets the notice to appear and has to be in front of the judge more or less 10 days, 2 weeks at max if they're in detention. They go in front of the immigration judge, they do a bond redetermination hearing, and from there, when the judge determines they have no criminal history, they've been here for years, they have U.S. citizen family, they're working, and they don't have bad moral character, the judge is going to release them on bond. And the judge will half the time release them on their own recognizance without bond. Okay? That is a fact of what's going to happen. Okay? Unless they want to pass a law saying no bond, which they're not going to do. Okay? So then what happens? They get bonded out. Okay? So now you have one person that was in detention, now is bonded out, and now is going to fight his or her case in removal proceedings. Okay? While that person is in removal proceedings, there is a stay, an automatic stay of deportation. They cannot deport somebody who is fighting their case in removal proceedings. Pure and simple, period. End of the line. Okay? So that one person now is going to fight their case in removal proceedings, and they're safe from any deportation while they're fighting it. Okay? And you know how removal proceedings work? They're backlogged. There's only a certain amount of judges that can hear the case. I mean, if I told you how many immigration judges there were in the whole United States, you would just laugh at the fact that they think they're going to push through 11 million deportations in lightning time. I mean, there's only a few hundred immigration judges in the entire United States. Okay? And they only have so many people that they can process per day. And by process, when you are fighting an immigration case in removal proceedings, there's all kinds of proceedings that you can have. You can fight the notice to appear if there's issues on there that are invalid. If there's allegations that are invalid, you can try to contest the removability provisions. And then even if the judge finds you removable, you can apply for all kinds of relief, possibly adjustment of status, registry, cancellation of removal for lawful permanent residents, cancellation of removal for non-permanent residents, various kinds of waivers. You might qualify for a U or a T visa and then be able to adjust. You might qualify for prosecutorial discretion. You might qualify for asylum, withholding of removal, convention against torture. Okay, these are just the ones that come off the top of my head that I've done for years and years and years. Okay, now, again, going back to this one person, first hearing's a master calendar. So they say what they're going to do, they dispute whatever allegations, and then it's set over for a contested hearing. The contested hearing, they determine ultimately if they're removable and what types of allegations or what types of relief they're going to file for. So let's say they're going to file for asylum, or let's say they're going to file for adjustment with a waiver, or whatever it happens to be, or cancellation of removal for non-permanent residents, whatever. Then there'll be another hearing months down the line where they'll be able to file all their applications. Then after that, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. It depends. It depends on the backlog of the immigration court as to when the trial is. That person will then have a trial. And ultimately, the trial might be one hearing, it might be two hearings, whatever. Ultimately, the judge makes a decision. If the judge grants it, then that person's safe. That person won. That person's going to get the green card or whatever relief was available, even if not the green card, but safe from deportation. If the judge denied it, then you have the right, within 30 days, to appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals. And let me tell you, when you appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals, there is also an automatic stay of deportation. They cannot deport you. And if you're not in detention, it doesn't go on the fast track, and it's going to take another year or 2 years for the Board of Immigration Appeals to decide whether or not the immigration judge was wrong or right. Okay? So just get what I'm saying here. You have a person who, tomorrow, whenever the order that Trump does, mass deportations, is going to fight their removal case. And if they lose, they're going to appeal to the BIA. And ultimately, when they get a decision back, we're talking 3 or 4 years. And it's probably longer. Okay, it depends where you live. If you live in North Dakota, it's going to take shorter than if you live in LA. Okay, I mean, that's just a fact. It's just how many people are on the docket. Okay, so let's say now that the case comes back from the BIA and says dismissed. They agree with the immigration judge. Well, you have 30 days to do a petition for review at the Circuit Court of Appeal. Now in that case, there's not an automatic stay of deportation, so you have to make a motion to stay the deportation while you're doing a petition for review to the Circuit Court of Appeals. Okay? And assuming that's granted, you're then here while the petition for review is being adjudicated by the Circuit Court, which that takes another year, 2 years, whatever. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that without even trying, the typical person who is here illegally can legally fight their case for years. And what's going to happen after 4 years? Who's not going to be in office anymore? Okay? And when will the mass deportation threats, hopefully, be over? Well, 4 years is the magic number, okay? And I am not talking about delaying for no reason. I'm talking about legally and properly fighting your case in immigration court, at the BIA, at the Circuit Court of Appeals, for everything you are under the law entitled to do. They allow appeals for the very reason that we're talking about if, the judge or whatever didn't properly consider the evidence and a myriad of other reasons. And same as it goes all the way up the chain. And sometimes what they do is they say you're right, they send it back down, you adjudicate it again, and if it's wrong, it goes back up, whatever. So that's one single case. Do you get the idea? Okay, just from what I'm talking about now, under the law now, without changing any of the laws, but just some executive order saying mass deportations is not going to happen. Do you see? It just won't happen. I'm explaining to you legally, under the law, procedurally, what happens with a single case that's put in deportation, and that person is not thrown out of the country. They have the right to fight their case. Okay, now let's move to other aspects what people are afraid of. Well, people are afraid of that Trump will get into office, issue the mass deportation, and then change all the law. Allow the states to go and do everything. Well, do you think, for the same reason, that the states are going to just agree to round up everybody? I mean, there might be some states in the U.S. where that, might be easier said than done. That might be easier for states to agree to do that. But the vast majority of states will not. And the idea also is that immigration law is federal law. State is state law. You can't have a state officer enforce a federal immigration law. Okay, I know Texas tried to do that. And that's been up and down in the courts all the time. And I guarantee you, if state officials try to do this, immigration lawyers are going to come in by the droves and file lawsuits. The lawsuits are going to say, they're going to talk all about separations of power. They're going to talk about the power of the federal versus state. They're going to talk about all kinds of jurisdictional issues. It's going to go to court, and if it loses, it'll be appealed. And if loses or wins, whichever, those sides are going to appeal. And you know how long appeals take and all these issues. They're going to take years. Okay, so even if that is attempted, that's not going to happen. Okay? So then we get to the other fact. People are going to say, all right, well, what if Trump says to Congress, I want you to change the laws. I want you to make it so that, it's easier to deport people. They don't have to have removal proceedings, that, you can just go to their door, put them in handcuffs, and throw them out the country. Okay? Well, first of all, you're going to need, at least in the Senate, a supermajority to do that. And even though the Republicans have the majority in the Senate, they don't have 60. And are you going to get 8 Democrats that are going to agree to that? And are you going to get all 52 Republicans that are going to agree to that? I don't think so. I doubt it. That's not going to happen. Then it has to go to the House. Okay? And there's a whole procedure. That's why they have 3 branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. So he makes an order like that. First, it has to go through all the legislative branches, and they have to pass it. And then even if they pass it, again, the immigration lawyers are going to come out, and they're going to sue and show what's unconstitutional and what can't be done. And then it's going to go to court, and then it's going to fight in court. And then it's going to have to be appealed, and they're going to try to go through all that. So it's not going to be doable that he's going to come into office and his order of mass deportation is going to happen. Okay? Hopefully I'm explaining. I could go on and on for legally in more detail for hours as to why not, but I'm summarizing it all. Okay? Now let's get to the point about the U.S. citizens, the ones who have naturalized, who fear that because they weren't born here, that they're going to have their citizenship taken away. That's not going to happen. Do you know how hard it is to denaturalize someone? It's very difficult. There is all kinds of stuff on the books and laws to do that. And the only way that Trump would even be able to begin to do something like say, well, it's a national security. It's a national security risk, and create all the lies and fear and all that. But then it has to go to court. And how is, some person who's 60 years old, who was, came from, wherever, Philippines, wherever, 58 years ago, and has been a citizen for 50 years, how are they going to show that guy's a national threat? They can't. That's the reality. They can't. Okay, so that's not to worry. If you're here as a lawful permanent resident and they have to revoke your green card, again, there's all kinds of procedures to do that. They can't just snap their fingers, revoke the green card, come and deport you. Okay, they have to go through all kinds of proceedings to show why they're going to revoke your green card. Going to show what you did that was fraudulent or what was incorrect about the way that they issued the green card in the first place. And that has to go again through immigration court. Then again, if it's denied, it has to go through appeals and all that other stuff. All right? So do you feel better? Do you feel the reality here of why mass deportations, even though politically that's used as a basis to get votes and to create the fear-mongering and all that other stuff, why that's not going to happen legally under the law? I'll offer one piece of advice, which I've said before here. Don't sign anything. Period. Do not sign a thing they put in front of you, and get an immigration attorney to represent you. We know how to fight. We know how to protect you, and we know how to use the law and the due process to give you the rights the law already has for you. Okay? So there you go. That's my spiel. I'm not sure I'm going to have time to go through all the questions here, because there's a ton of them. But here we go. Okay, so I'm going to just briefly answer the questions, uh, just so I get through them. I won't go in a lot of detail. Okay, when they realize the cost of that many hearings, do you think they will do proper hearings? Okay, I'm not sure if you're talking about the person in removal proceedings and the cost of hiring an immigration attorney, or if you're talking about the government and whether they will do the proper hearings. They have no choice. The government has no choice, especially if someone's being represented. Can you imagine an immigration judge saying, well, I don't know, this hearing's going to take too long and I think it's going to cost too much money. I'm just going to order deportation. Of course they can't do that. Okay, unless we want to call ourselves a puppet government, they have to do a real hearing. They have to run the procedures. Okay, and if they do that, appeal it. Go up to the BIA. You think the BIA is going to look at some judge, immigration judge, who ran something through because they thought it cost too much and didn't give the person their due process rights? There is no correlation between due process and cost. If someone is entitled to their due process, period. That doesn't mean that if they, don't have an immigration attorney, that their due process might get trampled on because they're not sure what to do. That's a different story. Okay, so that's that. Melania Trump should be deported. I won't comment on that. Okay. Do you think 301A pending but in removal proceedings is a top priority? Well, I can tell you as of right now, what is a top priority right now is people who have felonies, who are here illegally and have felonies. That's the priority. That's who's essentially put in removal proceedings, because they have to determine, who has, who they best have the best chance of removing and who need to be removed, and that's their priority. Okay, does it sound like they're trying to follow the law? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. That's the key. I mean, anyone who says mass deportations, that's it. Of course they're not trying to follow the law. But you have to look at the other side of the coin, okay? Just because they say that and just because they try that, do you think people are going to pack their bags, line up, and say goodbye because you said you're going to do a mass deportation? Heck no. They're going to fight. They've been here all the years. They have families. Okay, they have kids here. They have their lives here. They have the right to be here. The law's on their side. They have the ability to fight their case. So the immigration lawyers and them and all that, they're going to fight it. The congressional lawmakers who are Democrats, who are going to stand up for democracy, they're going to fight it. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to fight it for the next 4 years. Okay, that's the fact. Okay, let's see. We have twice before, 100 years ago, 1/14 of Mexico was American citizens. Okay, and he's already using other. Okay, I mean, he's going to try to use everything he can. That's the point here. He's going to try to use and going to try to usurp authority he's not entitled to, but trying to do something and claiming politically he can do something is a world difference of what he can do. Okay? You'll find out. That's it. That's the reality. Okay. He wants to use the army, to use brute force to carry out his egotistical desires. I agree with you. I agree with that. Okay? But again, think of the law here. Let's just pretend he says, you, the army, go to 11 million households, take them and forcibly remove them from the United States. That can't happen. That is impossible. Okay, unless we want to call ourselves North Korea. That is impossible. Can't happen. Okay, he can order it. They can try. But I guarantee you there's going to be a very big fight in the courts and stays and everything. The law cannot just be magically upended and disappear because of one person. Okay, that's the fact. Okay, they're already talking about deputizing civilians. Okay, I mean, we can go on and on what they're talking about. That's That's why I'm doing this video, okay? I mean, you say, but you speak as if they're going to respect the rule of law. I'm not. I'm speaking that we are going to fight the disrespect of the rule of law. Okay, I guarantee you that there's a ton of judges, of appellate courts, of procedures that will follow the law and that will follow democracy. Okay, that's why I'm confident that democracy will prevail. Okay, you can have one side that tries not to do it and keeps trying not to do it and keeps pushing the limits and keeps trying thing after thing after thing for 4 years. But you got a whole bunch of people on the other side that are going to fight it. Okay, that's the fact. Okay, let's see. Okay, again, I know you're all saying, assuming he's going to follow the law. He won't follow the law. He will try not to follow the law. That's the whole point. Okay, that's the whole point. But we know how to fight and appeal and all that other stuff. Okay. So, anyways, I got tons of stuff here, but they're all basically the similar thing. Essentially saying what I've said. But what I want you to take from this is that there's a lot of fight in the United States against this, and there will be. I don't think you've seen all the massive lawsuits that are going to come, and the appeals, and the fighting and removal proceedings. And I wanted to just belay the fear that one person can make one order and have it happen, because it won't. Okay? So I hope that this has put some minds at ease, and so forth. And just prepare for the long fight, because that's what's going to happen. And with that, I will bid you all a very happy week, good Monday, and enjoy the rest of your day.